All right, hello everyone, and welcome to Passenger to Pilot, the live launch. Today we're going to be talking about the amygdala hijack. And after this short session, you're going to know exactly what's going on behind the scenes in your brain when you feel a big feeling and all of a sudden you're acting in ways that might have shocked even you yourself. And more importantly, you will know exactly what to do about that. So let's go. All right, so there we go. The amygdala hijack, how it's ruining your life and how to fix it. So welcome, this is a launch event. Please scan that QR code and it will take you exactly where you need to go to pilotmyemotions.com, and we are taking off right now. All right, so hi, this is where we do the introduction. Let me turn the content off so you can actually see. All right, my name is Gbemi. You can call me Coach G. My clients do. I'm a psychotherapist and I specialize in making emotionally hard things easy. I have over a decade of experience working professionally as a psychotherapist, and I leverage my education. I have a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling and a bachelor's degree in behavioral science. I leverage that expertise and I simplify all of the things that I've learned in all these years of education. I simplify it so you can apply it to your life immediately. My specialty is in giving people immediately actionable tools that you can use to get yourself to the better version of yourself, improved outcomes that you desire and deserve. So I'm grateful that you let me be a part of your journey. And I hope that there are ways that I can serve you if you let me. So welcome. Right, so let's clarify who needs to be here so that way, if you don't belong here, we can get out of your way and you can go do your thing. So if you ever felt hijacked by your emotions, if you said something you instantly regretted or felt your blood boil till you couldn't hold back, and as a result, perhaps lost an opportunity or a relationship, welcome. You're in the right place. If that's you, please put it in the chat. Let's know. Those of us that belong in this category, I'm going to put me in the chat because I belong. If that's you, go ahead and put me in the chat. If you can't relate, you've never said or done something that you didn't feel proud of after, you've never overreacted, blown a fuse, blown a gasket, feel free to leave us mere mortals. And you can send me a link to getting a call with you after now, so that you can teach me your ways. Okay, I'm encouraged by the chat. I see you. I see us. Okay. Yeah, so welcome. You're in the right place. If your emotions have ever been hijacked and you have felt some type of way after reflecting on it and saying, but I really shouldn't have done or said that, right? All right, thank you, everyone. I appreciate the honesty. It appears I am in good company. So thank you. I'm with people who are just like me, human. Right. And so what we're going to do is that we're going to learn about what exactly is going on in our brain that makes that a thing. And my hope is that when we learn that, it will help us know what's going on so that it no longer takes us by surprise. Because it's often the case that we're like, why did I act like that? Or why am I acting the way I'm acting? My goal is when you know exactly what's going on in the brain, specifically the amygdala, the emotional control center, you will be more aware, and then no longer taking aback or taking by surprise. You will know how to fix the problems that it's creating, right? So the amygdala is a critical brain structure that's involved in emotional processing and regulation. It's kind of like the security guard of the brain, and it's the one that plays a really key role in our survival instinct. All right, I'm going to show you something that I like to call the hand model of the brain. Right, let me know if you can see. This is the hand model. So I want you to imagine that your brain, let me use this hand because I have more space on this side. I want you to imagine that your brain is shaped like a fist. If you've ever seen this hand model before, let me know in chat so I have an idea if you have an idea what I'm talking about. If you've ever seen the hand model of the brain being used to describe the brain, anyone familiar? That the brain is shaped like a hand. Anyone ever heard that before? No? Okay, thank you for sharing. Anyone else? That the brain is shaped like a hand, right? Oh, that's a lot of no. So I'm glad that you're here because now you know. I'm going to go back and show you the image of the brain and what I mean by how the brain is shaped like a hand, okay? All right, so do you see that? I'm going to bring my hand to this side so you can see. Do you see that? So imagine that this hand is the brain. So there's the brain stem, right, which we like to refer to as the downstairs brain. Then there's the cortex. That's the upstairs brain. Then there's the midbrain. That's around where the amygdala is. This part, that's kind of like where the amygdala is. And I'll show you what happens when the amygdala takes control. So hand model of the brain, this is the reptilian brain, like the brain stem. It's called the reptilian brain because all reptiles have it. Sometimes it's also called the lizard brain. So ancient circuits, everyone has that. Then we have the midbrain, the limbic area where emotions live. Then we have the upstairs brain, the cortex. This is the thinking part of the brain, right? And so what happens is that even though we are born with the cortical region, that's the area around the cortex, that's where your frontal lobe is, the most advanced parts of the brain. We're born with that not fully developed, and it develops as we grow, becoming fully formed in adulthood around the age, right? So what happens is that this thinking brain is what controls choice, executive function, and all that kind of stuff. But this part of the brain, the midbrain, the limbic system, is what controls emotions. So you see that security guard of the brain, when it senses danger, what it does is that it disconnects the cortical region, the thinking brain. So now all we have left and all we're using is the downstairs brain. So we have subcortical downstairs to simplify, and then we have cortical upstairs. So when the security guard of the brain, the amygdala, when it senses a threat, it starts to twitch. And what it does is that it sends the thinking part of the brain offline. Now we are left with our emotions and automatic reflexes. That's why we act the way we do. When our amygdala gets hijacked, it takes our upstairs brain offline. Can somebody tell me in a few words what they're hearing me say? What are you hearing me say about, or you can put it in the chat if you would like that. That this is the hand model of the brain. There's the upstairs brain, downstairs brain, and upstairs brain gets disconnected. Anyone? Or should I just move on?
Is that there's a physiological reaction to something that you're experiencing, like
right, that there's a physiological reaction. I like how you said that. That sounds very sciencey. Do you want to simplify it for us?
well, yeah, what I thought was that I think I'm overthinking it. Don't worry, please go on.
Fine, you're fine. Because you're right. There's a physiological reaction. I just wanted you to use simpler
So
language.
something gets shut off, basically. So there's like a disconnect.
Exactly. There's a reaction in our body. Is that what you mean by physiological?
Yeah, that's what physiological is, yeah, the
Thank
way your
you. I
body
was
works.
looking for simpler language. Thank you. Because I didn't want to lose anyone who didn't have any idea what we were talking about. I appreciate that. Oh, thank you, chat. I see. The upstairs brain gets disconnected when it senses danger. That is accurate and that is correct. Our amygdala cannot work with our upstairs brain. Exactly that. Also, the brain is shaped like a hand. We have an upstairs-like and downstairs-like brain. Yes, thank you. Once your brain senses danger, it disconnects the logical part of the brain and operates solely on the emotional part of the brain. Exactly. The amygdala disconnects the upstairs brain, logical brain, when it senses danger. Thank you. This is such a great class. We can close and go home now because y'all already got it. The amygdala being hijacked removes the inhibition that our upstairs brain helps us with. There, you got it. That's exactly what happens. I'll show you an image that will further simplify it. Do you see that? Do you see the steps? So step one, sensory data is fed to the thalamus. Ignore the big words. Sensory data is fed to your brain, which means that you sense something is about to happen. Immediately that part of your brain gets it, it sends it to the amygdala. I'm going to move my hand here so you can see. It sends it to the amygdala. You see that shape? The next thing that happens is that the data that you have received, the sensory inputs, it is also sent to your thinking brain. However, for the sake of our survival, the amygdala does a quick threat assessment. Immediately it does that, it blocks the thinking brain because your brain cortex, your upstairs brain, your thinking brain can stop you from taking immediate action. So it blocks slow thinking, your upstairs brain, right? And immediately redirects to the downstairs brain so that you can act quickly because your brain's job is to keep you from danger. That's the science. Your brain's job is to help you survive. So let me give you a practical example. Immediately you touch a hot surface. What does your hand immediately do? Anyone, voice or chat? You touch a hot surface. What is the instant reactionary reflex that happens?
We draw back. We draw
Thank
back.
you. Is that your thinking brain that did that, would you say? That made you draw back? No, thank you. That's not your thinking brain. That is your quick acting brain. So your brain is designed for survival. It immediately evokes a reaction. So those, thank you, those are your reflexes. That's how that works. That's how your brain works. It shuts off your thinking brain and immediately leads you to action. What's the risk with that? What do you guys think is the risk with that? Because it does keep us alive and it does keep us safe, but what are possible downsides, would you say? I could think of one. Go ahead. I see your hand raised. Go ahead.
I think it's what we call a knee-jerk reaction, and it could be an overreaction or it could be not in your long-term best interest. It's just oh, something happened, don't punch that guy. You know.
You're right on the money, Lucia. Reflexes are great for survival, but is it the case that reflex actions are great for us long term? Go ahead, JJ. Okay, no, that was just my cursor. So when you take a reflex action, it might save you in the immediate, but because the thinking brain, the part that helps you make decisions and think about the future, because that part is shut off, that immediate reaction may not be helpful. So for example, let's go back to the stovetop. Something's hot, or you're trying to cook and the pot catches fire. Your downstairs brain says, danger, danger, pour some water on a fire because water puts out fire. Is that a helpful reflex action though? If there's a burning pot of oil and you pour water on it, what's likely to happen?
The fire will get bigger.
Thank you. The fire gets bigger, but your downstairs reflex brain said do something, right? And so if you have not learned to switch immediately, that your brain saw the fire, the amygdala that senses danger, it sent your upstairs thinking brain offline. Now you're thinking, I'm pouring water. Now there's a bigger fire. It is helpful for you to be able to bring your thinking brain back online really quickly and know that if you had a very big blanket and you put it over the fire, it will deprive the fire of oxygen and the fire will go out. The part that thinks about consequences and actions is upstairs. But guess the way we are wired? For upstairs to go offline when we feel an attack, when we feel unsafe. So that is why you might be in a seemingly normal situation. And if you can relate, you can put it in the chat or you can just be quiet so nobody knows it's you. Somebody says something that appears to be benign, that seems like, oh, it's nothing. And boom, there's an overreaction. Has that ever happened to you? A seemingly benign statement, something that appears on the surface to be like, straightforward, right? Especially on social, for example. Let's use social media as a good example, right? Thank you. I appreciate the honesty in the comments, you guys. Thank you. Somebody says something to you on social and immediately you start to have a big physiological reaction. You're beating, you're feeling charged, and now you're typing away. And then maybe later you're thinking, well, why was I speaking to that person? Really, that's what the amygdala hijack does, right? Immediately you felt attacked, you may have felt unsafe, and then you reacted. You chose the option that may have felt you feel the most safe, not so much the one that would have benefited you long term, right? So that's how it plays out. And that's why we sometimes find ourselves acting in ways that don't benefit us. And even though we don't feel proud of it, we might sometimes feel helpless. So this is where we discuss a little bit. Let's talk about everyday life experiences. And if you want to, you can share yours, and I'll give you a couple of prompts so that way, maybe you might think of one. And if you do want to share with us, that's okay. Or if you want to put it in the chat. So what does the amygdala hijack look like in everyday life? As a parent, your child throws a tantrum. I know that's one I can relate to. Anyone else can identify? You're out, the child wants a toy in the store, drops to the floor. What are some feelings that come up for you as a result? Anyone? Yeah, shouting, thank you. Shouting as a behavior in response to their behavior, because now your amygdala is hijacked and you've lost it, right? In response to the stimuli. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the honesty in the chat. So the amygdala hijack happens. Thank you, Clarion. Yes, you might feel frustrated, right? The amygdala hijack happens as you watch your child throw a tantrum because they're unable to manage their own emotions, maybe their own frustration. Or in a romantic relationship, they say something that sets you off, and now you have to say yours back. I'm going to turn on camera for this part because has that ever happened to you? In a romantic relationship, your spouse, your partner, they said something, and then you said something, and then they said something, and then you said something. And now we went from Why did you leave the door open to anyone else can relate? I thought we asked the people who were not mere mortals like us to exit the room already. Okay, yeah, thank you. All right, let me look at the chat, right? If ADHD like me, you might have rejection sensitivity. Yes, RSD, thank you. That makes us flight or fight in reaction instead of response. Absolutely, you're right. Okay, yes, I appreciate the honesty, guys, yes. What if your reaction is to shut down? I like that. That's what I was about to answer, right? Silent treatment. I appreciate your honesty. Clarion can neither confirm nor deny if she pops up, right? I hear you. Let's explore the other ones and I'll tell you about the other responses. What happened? These slides are stressing my life. Okay, here we go. So, okay, so let's say a work scenario. You're responding to criticisms or a deadline. Maybe you work in customer service and a client is just going off. Is that someone anyone can relate to where you've gone off and as a reaction to what somebody said or did and the amygdala hijack happened? So it can happen at work, right? Or in day-to-day life, you're driving. Has anybody ever flipped off a driver or cussed somebody out? This is where I show camera again because, or is that just me? Okay. I see that hand up, thank you. Right? So there's like an abundance of amygdala hijack, situations in real life every day, right? Where we're reacting to, other people, strangers on the internet. We already talked about that. Or people just being people. You're driving behind somebody who's slow, or you have a neighbor who's parked their car behind you, so you're not able to drive out and you're running late for work. It's an abundance of examples on a day-to-day basis. And the reason why that why that happens, oh, I see there's not a lot of aggression in Canada. Must be nice. Some of us live in more chaotic places. Okay, so before we talk about the cause of the hijack, let's do a quick example of what the automatic responses in our brain, what they might be like, because I did see a couple of people in chat talk about how sometimes they do not react or respond, right? Because they freeze. So I'm going to teach you about the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and flop responses. If you've ever heard anything about that before, put it in the chat. Let me know where to start from. Have you ever heard of the fight or flight response before? Fight or flight? Fight or flight or freeze? Okay, yeah. You've heard of it. Yes, that's a yes. Okay, several yeses. I love it. Y'all be knowing. Very aware. I love that. Yeah, okay, just fight or flight, right? There are actually several of them, right? And because the thing with the behavioral sciences is that as it goes on, we learn more and the learning expands, right? So I'm going to teach you about the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, or flop responses, right? And essentially, like we explained about the downstairs brain, your brain has automatic reactions there to keep you safe, several of them occurring for several reasons. So with the fight response, when your brain senses danger and the amygdala becomes hijacked, the amygdala basically takes over control, kind of like a plane that has been hijacked by, somebody who has other plans, right? As soon as the brain gets hijacked, the reaction that comes up for you is automatic. It overrides your thinking brain and the systems that help you make good choices and no longer in control. Now the amygdala is the boss, right? If your brain sensed that that was an attack and your brain does a quick instant assessment that it can take down the attacker, your brain automatically, reflex action, goes to fight mode. Energy, blood rushes to your hands, and you're ready to punch. Anyone ever punched in reaction, or do I need to hide my face? Any ever? Anyone? Yes, I appreciate the honesty. Again, if all of these things we're saying you can't relate, feel free to leave us mere mortals alone and, carry on. I appreciate that, kiddo. It's on site. Like, you're gonna catch these hands, right? You felt the urge, but you've not acted on it. Awesome. I appreciate that honesty, because right now we're in the realm of instinctive, right? So that's what the fight response looks like. And it can also look like verbal aggression, right? Somebody says something and you pop off and say your own back. Because, aggression isn't just physical. It can be verbal, right? Lucia says when you have a lot of brothers. Exactly. It depends a lot on the scenario, right? So that's what the fight response looks like. Your brain senses danger. It feels an attack. It immediately attacks back, right? So that's the fight response. The flight response, on the other hand, is you take off. You see a dog charging at you, you run. You don't stop to think. You just take off, right? That's what the flight response can look like. It's because you want to get away from the attack. So and it might not even be like a physical threat, right? Because the brain does not know the difference between real danger and what appears to be dangerous. So that's why you can see a piece of string on the floor and your brain immediately says snake and you jump, only to find out that it was just a cord or like a wire that was on the floor, or a twig, right? Or you walk into the room and there are shadows and there's a jacket that looks like a human being. Immediately your heart starts pumping, blood goes to your legs, and you run away. That's what the flight response looks like. Again, automatic, right? The flight response is closely related to the very jumpy, what we call it, like if you have a strong startle response, you're going to immediately, run away. That's what the flight response looks like. Thank you, Buku. You can relate. I can too. So we've discussed fight, flies, flight. Next is freeze. Your body just stands there, doesn't move. Because your brain's assessment is that you can't take off fast enough, or you cannot take on the attacker, so you're just frozen. This happens, unfortunately, a lot in instances where there's SA, where there's physical inappropriate touch, because sometimes people will ask, but when that person was doing that, why didn't you move? Your brain froze. Your amygdala assessed the situation and said, just staying still is what will be the most helpful response. Again, automatic responses, so you just freeze, because sometimes you're shocked and you can't even see anything. Has anything ever happened that was so egregious? Like you looked at the nonsense that somebody did and you were like you couldn't even say anything, or run away from the situation. You just froze. That's what the freeze response looks like. Then the fawn, which is one of the more recent ones that was discovered, the fawn response is where your brain assesses the situation and realizes that appealing to this stronger attacker might be the only way for you to get out of the situation. So you smile. You're in danger. Your brain senses danger. So you smile and try to appease them so that you can get out. That's one that a lot of people can relate to growing up as children, where you smile to try to, diffuse the situation. If you can relate to that, please put it in chat. Because you may have wondered, why is this person smiling with somebody who's doing something wrong, right? And it's often the case that somebody will ask, but you didn't act like that was a dangerous situation because you were smiling. Even you yourself might not realize that the reason your brain switched on the fawn response was because your brain's job is to keep you safe. Thank you. I see a comment in the chat that you can definitely relate, right? The newest one, the flop response, is where you faint. Like your body just collapses. It's kind of different from the freeze response, because in the freeze response, you're still there, you're still aware. It's just that you're immobile. With the flop response, like you pass out, right? Are we clear on those different ones? Which ones can you relate to? Put it in the chat. Oh, I see your comment. I freeze way too much for my liking. I hear you. I hear you. And for what it's worth, that's your brain doing its thing. Because remember, your brain is overriding your thinking brain and conscious action. Your amygdala has taken over the plane. I'm looking in the chat. What are the responses that you can relate to? I'm going to put mine there. Okay, let me read the responses. Okay. Oh, I have to scroll up. Okay, I freeze. Yeah. Okay, I see freeze as well. Yeah, that's a common one. All of them except flop. Right. I don't remember passing out before, but yeah, but that's the thing. Okay, thank you. Say about that flop again, please. I'll go over it, no problem. Fun, as a recovering people pleaser, I'm going to be in danger and I'm going to be smiling. I'm going to say, that's okay, because I don't want to displease the person. All of them flop. All right, good. So let me I fawn a lot too. Yeah, fawn. If you're doing people pleasing recovery work like me, you'll find that the fawn response is a very oh, I see another fawn. All right, all of us, we're doing the work. We're getting better every day in every way. All right, so let me go per your request. Let me explain the flop one. The flop is literally passing out. Like you lose, it's almost like, have you ever heard of somebody who was in danger and they just fainted? Like as your brain's automatic response. Remember, as we're discussing these responses, these are not conscious responses that you chose. These are your automatic reactions when your brain senses it. And like I've explained, the amygdala, the security guard of the brain, senses danger and immediately takes over. And it is an instinctive, reflective response. That's what the fawn response looks like. All right. Yeah. Fawn is pretty common, in my opinion, in domestic violence situations, perhaps. Yes. If there's somebody who's more powerful than you that can, it is highly likely that you will learn to make yourself smaller or present yourself as nice and sweet to keep yourself from danger. So yes, intimate partner violence is, and how you will know is there's typically a power differential, right? So that's why it also happens in parent-child relationships a lot. Children have to learn to fawn and smile just so they don't get hit, just so they don't get hurt, because they're in danger from the adult who's more powerful than them. It often happens in the workplace as well, where you smile to appease a boss because you can lose your job, right? And so the fawn response, you might find yourself mad at yourself for not challenging, the person or not doing something about it. Now you know that it's not because you're a coward, sweetie. You just happen to be in a scenario where someone has more power than you and you feel unsafe. Now you have to do something about it, right? For example, you get pulled over by a cop and they have so much power over you. Is the fawn response likely? In that scenario, you can see that you're kind of like at a disadvantage with the power differential. Looking at the chat, anyone? Or maybe what other scenario can you think of? Because I know if I get pulled over, I'm putting a smile on my face because I want to, diffuse the situation, right? So getting pulled over by a cop, someone's trying to rob me and my brain assesses the situation that I can't take on this attacker. And so I'm like, it's okay, just tell me what you want and I'll give it to you. Does it mean I like the person or am I appealing to, their power, right? Yeah, thanks, Lucia. In the face of very rude people in a social gathering. Exactly. Just be nice to them till you can slip away. So those are some of the instinctive responses. I hope that us learning about this helps us understand what's going on in our brain. Now I want to move to the more important part. What can we do, about it? Let's look at the cost, the real actual cost of hijacks, right? So if you're big on the flight response, if you feel attacked and you attack back physically or verbally, you might have damaged relationships because you're hurting the people you love. And, it's often the case that we think of violence and we think only physical violence. What of verbal violence? Are we saying things to our children that we shouldn't be saying just because we felt big feelings? Or can you relate to being on the receiving end of someone else's hijack? Did you grow up in a household where hurtful words were used? Because as soon as the adult got a hijack, it was, gloves off, right? So we're not only speaking to this from a point of view of the things we're doing, but what about the things that were done to us as well? If you grew up in a culture where people used physical violence, especially if they rationalized it as training you or disciplining you, somebody got upset, you got a whoopee. Anyone can relate to that? Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your honesty. Because somebody got mad, right? Somebody got upset. And now you're on the receiving end of physical and verbal violence because of that amygdala hijack, right? Or you get upset, you get attacked, and because of the power differential, now you're taking it out on somebody who has less power than you. And now maybe you're hitting your children because you got upset. Or maybe even hitting your partner, because intimate partner violence is a real thing. Or you say, well, at least I didn't beat them, but you're using fighting words. And you're saying words that have someone you claim to love in tears, devastated, stabbing them with your words, because once your amygdala gets hijacked, that's it. So do you often find yourself recognizing it and saying, look what you made me do? If you hadn't said that, then I wouldn't have said that to you. Eroding their self-esteem, literally chipping away at their essence as a human being because amygdala hijack. Yeah, gaslighting them. A lot of the unhelpful behaviors that we rationalize and try to justify are because when our brain senses danger, our upstairs thinking brain goes offline and we start to act in ways we often don't feel proud of after the fact. So verbal and physical abuse to us and by us, people have lost their jobs because they couldn't control themselves and they went off. A client said something, and the next thing you're throwing a drink in their face, right? Also, chronic stress and anxiety causing health issues, right? Because if you're holding that in your body over time, right? Health issues because you're trying to manage the anger of a parent who says outrightly harmful things to you just because they got mad, right? And they're calling you out on your name. They're cussing you out, like literally calling you never do well, stupid, saying you will never amount to anything just because they got upset or got angry, right? Then there's feelings of regret because maybe that's you and you didn't know you could control yourself or you didn't know that that was your amygdala. So after the fact, you regret your choices, perhaps shame and failure too, feeling like a failure because now the relationship ended because you couldn't control your temper, and you're thinking, okay, now people keep leaving me just because when I get upset, I see red. But it's not my fault. It's because they keep triggering me. Okay, do you like the outcome? Also, serious legal consequences. You say the wrong thing to someone that you're not supposed to say. Now you're getting arrested. I don't know if you've seen the videos of, people going off and using racist slurs and now getting arrested, or even, on social media, saying hurtful things back at someone, justifying it by what they said. But now you're in trouble because the choice that you made is a criminal. And if they ask why, they'll say, well, they pissed me off, or well, because the amygdala hijack does happen. So now you're under arrest or you're incarcerated, even though you didn't really mean it, perhaps because you didn't know what was going on in your brain, or even loss of life, right? People have punched people and the person has dropped down. And they're like, well, I didn't mean it. Yes, sweetie, you didn't mean it. Your amygdala got hijacked. But guess who's on the hook for their choices, even if it may not be their fault? So I don't know about you, but I'd like to get better. If that's you, you're going to. I'm going now. I'd like to see you go. Yeah, I need to be better. Anyone else like me? Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I like that reframe. I'm going to copy you. Is that okay? So it's not just that I need to be better. I'd love it too. Anyone else? Let's put it in the chat. Yeah. I'd love to be better. Anyone else? I like that. Now I'm going to steal yours. I have to be better. By the time we're done, I would have stolen everybody's hopes and dreams. Thank you for inspiring me. I have to. I don't have a choice. My future self is counting on me. My children, their children's children, aren't counting on me. Yeah, I see that. I'd love to be better. Me too. I have to get better. Yeah. I'm just stealing all of yours because look, I don't know about you, but yeah, I have to be better. Thank you. Yeah. Can we be better though? Or are we stuck, like this? Is this it? Like, okay, well, I was born with the amygdala hijack. And so people have to understand that when I'm angry, right? The outcomes though, do we like it? Those really are the questions. Do we like the outcomes? Are we showing up in the world as the best version of ourselves? Do we feel proud of the choices that we're making? I mean, when we're behind closed doors, when there's no audience, because I mean, it's one thing to grandstand for the audience, to say, well, now everyone knows not to ever try that mess with me. However, do you like the version of yourself that's showing up? Is that the best version that's possible? Or is there more? You guys appreciate your honesty because look, I'm in it. I am. Thank you. Not all the time. Yeah. We can be better. I was an angry trauma survivor. Now I'm adorable. Thank you, Lucia. You're evidence that it's possible. I have to get better and do better. I have to get better at managing my emotions. Yeah, we do. And I happen to know the answer. So I'm going to show it to you. All right, because you're not alone. The solution, emotional regulation. That's why I created Passenger to Pilot for you. Because you can master your emotions and master your life in 7 steps. I've been a therapist for a decent minute. My first formal counseling job in the US was in 2012. That's how many years ago? 13 years ago. I was a crisis counselor on the National Suicide Prevention Helpline, and I did that job for a few years. In fact, I started as a volunteer, and when a position became open, my supervisor said, "You're getting hired." And I was like, "No, I'm just a volunteer. I'm still in school." And she was like, "I can't think of a better person for this job. You have everything it takes." And so for 13 years, I have been listening to people and helping them work through their emotions and putting practical tools in their hands for them to get better. And 9 out of 10 of my clients will say, "Oh, Coach G, how? I know that I want to be better, but how do I do it?" And after teaching person after person, and when I say I have helped hundreds of clients, for context, when you get a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling, you need 3,000 hours, 3,000 supervised hours, half of which must be face-to-face, half of which must be client-facing hours before you get your license in the 2 years between when you apply for it and when you finally get it. Prior to that, when you're in grad school, you need to do 800, 300 in 2 semesters and 200 in another semester. So just to graduate from school and get licensed, I had to do over 2,000 client-facing hours, right? And I've been fully licensed for 4 years now, right? So when I say I have worked with hundreds of clients, I know what I'm talking about. And 9 out of 10 of those clients will ask me, "Oh, how do I do it?" So over the years, as I have taught people, I have repeatedly taught people, and I have distilled that over the years that I have learned from getting all the education that I've gotten and then applying to myself and seeing the change, and then teaching it to people, many of whom could only get me to teach it to them because they could afford to pay for therapy. Over time, I then said, "You know what? More people need this." And so I put it in a system that I carefully developed. So I created a 7-step proprietary system, and I named it Passenger to Pilot because you deserve to be in the pilot seat of your life, not just as a passenger. If you're interested in being a pilot, I want you to put pilot in the chat. Let me see if I'm talking to people who are determined and ready to take action. Because if you're not ready to take action, I mean, what are we doing? Yeah, I see that. Pilot. Okay, thank you. That's what I'm talking about. Because it's not enough to have a desire to, or to say, "Well, maybe one day I'll change." It's real life consequences. Can you unbreak an egg? You, as an adult, recognize the harm that was done to you by adults who had all the power. Is that who you're trying to be? I made Passenger to Pilot for you because you deserve. And let me explain something to you. It may not have been taught to you because in an ideal world, you would have learned how to regulate your emotions from your parents. It may not have been taught to you, and so it's not your fault. However, you're grown now, and you're on the hook for the consequences. So my question is, do you want to replicate that pattern, or are you a pattern breaker? Which one are you? Put it in the chat. Are you a pattern breaker, or are you just going to continue where we left off? Let me see what we're working with. I know I'm a pattern breaker, so I'm going to put it there because I don't know about you, but I'm determined to do better. Yeah. Oh, I like that. Pattern destroy. Look, I'm just going to keep stealing yours because, yeah, pattern destroyer. Exactly. So I want you to think about the version of yourself after the fact, what are you going to be like? When you know your eulogy and your children and your children's children are lined up, dressed up nice because it's going to be a big celebration of life party because of how you impacted the generations, are they going to stand up there and be making up lies because they don't speak evil of the dead? Or is your child going to be there and say, I am grateful to have been born by this person who, even though their childhood may not have been fantastic, they did the work and they became better? Think about your future self for a minute. I mean, I know you may have an employer or a boss who was awful because they didn't know how to manage their emotions. Are you allowing that person to be a role model for who you will never be? So that now, because you're a leader, you are showing up at work as that leader who can master their emotions. Or are you at job calling people, at work calling people stupid because they made a mistake? Are you leaving a trail of damaged people behind because, well, that's just how I am? What's the quality of your relationships? Do you want better for yourself? Or do you just want to sit there and be like, well, I don't know, maybe. If you're ready to make a change, if you're ready to do something different, friend, I made passenger to pilot for you. And it will be my honor, the privilege that you will give me to allow me to walk this journey with you, because it is my firm belief that you deserve. So what's your choice? What's your decision? What do you want? What's the future outcome that you want? And are you going to take responsibility for getting there? So I want you to think about your life that you will be after you have learned to override the amygdala hijack and bring your upstairs brain back online. Improved relationships, deeper connections, reduced stress, increased resilience, greater happiness and fulfillment. If you regain control through the passenger to pilot system, it will enhance your personal relationships, improve workplace dynamics, and foster healthier parenting approaches. What do you want? And are you going to give yourself the gift that you deserve? I'm going to pull up the webpage so that you can look at it. It will give you an idea of what we have going on while you make your decision. And then we'll take questions and answers. Where's my share screen? All right. I'm sharing my screen. Let me know if you can see. Give me a thumbs up so I can know if you can see. Can you guys see? Oh, I should have optimized for audio. I don't know if you're going to hear the audio. Okay. Yeah. All right. You can see. I'm going to hit stop share and reshare again because I think you're supposed to check something for audio when you share. Okay. So give me a minute to fix that. Yeah. Share sound and optimize for video sharing. All right. So now I'm resharing and we shouldn't have problems this time. Okay, I'm going to pull up the chart so I can see while we... Let me know if you can see and I can go ahead and hit play.
Yep, we can see it.
Awesome.
Sometimes turbulence happens. And you can't control the sky, but you can control yourself. What if you could pilot your own inner sky?
Welcome. Congratulations on starting your transformative adventure. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to regain control of your life by mastering the 7-step passenger to pilot emotion regulation system, a transformative program that will empower you with practical tools for regulating your emotions so you can win in life. Learn how to recognize the turbulence. You're going to know what's going on internally with your brain, and you will recognize the amygdala hijack. You will learn how to take control of the cockpit, how to engage your senses, how to chart your course, decode the message, unveil the treasure, and finally take control by making choices regardless of how dysregulated you are that get you closer to where you want to get to in life, showing up in the world as the best version of yourself. I'm gbemi, but you can call me Coach G, my clients do. I'm a psychotherapist who specializes in making tough emotional challenges easier to manage.
Sometimes turbulent.
All right, there we go. If you're ready to take action now, let me see you put that in the chat because I'm about to show you a sweet deal. Let me see. I'm looking. Okay. I see the yeses. All right. Okay. Action. That's what I love to see. Awesome. So this is the Passenger to Pilot program. It is phenomenal. When I say phenomenal, look, it is. And I mean, you don't have to take my word for it. You can see the reviews, the people who have experienced it. And inside the program, there are exactly 7 steps. Each of them has a short video. None of the videos is longer than 8 minutes long. Only one of them is actually that long, right? So there's, let me stop share so that I can be less distracted. Right. Thank you for putting the link in the chat. I appreciate that. Right, so inside the Passenger to Pilot system, it is hosted on a world-class learning management system because I didn't want to just give you guys a video or a series of lessons. There are videos there are exercises that you do that will help you for each of the steps. There are journal prompts, there's a worksheet and a workbook. And then you earn rewards for each step that you take. When you check off, you get to collect 100 up to 100 XPs. We have a leaderboard on there where you can see who is maxing it out. We even put a forum option for you to be able to share your wins, which will serve as kind of a brag board. So you can see what other people are doing and you can do it yourself as well. So pilotmyemotions.com is where you want to go so that way you can see what's available there for you and you can get on, there. We're going to do questions and answers in a bit, but I want you to be able to ask your questions without worrying about maybe getting recorded. So out of respect to you, I'll end the recording now, but pilotmyemotions.com is exactly where you want to go to take advantage of the offers. And because I'm somebody who's always improving my work, because excellence is a core value for me, you know that when you get on the program, you're getting the best version. We have people in this room who are live now who took the beta version when I launched it last year. I think it was May of last year, who took it was a whole completely a different set of videos. We did the beta version, got people to take it, they provided their feedback, then went and edited all of the content, professionally recorded it because I wanted it to be solid, hired multiple teams who helped me work on it to gamify it, to make sure that it's up to the standard, that doesn't just deliver learning, but guarantees transformation. Because believe me when I tell you that if I wanted to be a marketing guru and sell 1,000 units of my program so that I can make a couple thousand, make 6 figures or more, my program wouldn't have taken this long. But it took this long because what's important to me is the transformation that you experience. So I want you to know that Passenger to Pilot is a gift of love. In fact, it is priced the way it is priced because I deliberately and genuinely wanted enough people to have access to it. I even have purchasing power parity arrangements for people depending on where in the world that they are from. So enjoy, all right? pilotmyemotions.com. If you have any questions, send me an email, hello@pilotmyemotions.com. It will be my delight to walk along with you on this journey and to help you get to where you need to be. Thank you.